Have you ever stopped to think about how many times things should have gone wrong in your life but did not? How many people who had everything to bring you down simply could not? How many traps were set in your path and you stepped over them without even noticing? This was not luck. This was not coincidence. This was protection. You were covered by something that your enemies could not see, something that science does not explain and that human logic does not reach. God placed upon you a cloak of invisibility. And in this video, I am going to show you exactly how this worked in your life. Why certain people simply cannot destroy you even though they want to very much, and what you need to do to never again leave from under this covering. If you have ever felt that someone wanted your harm, that there were eyes watching you waiting for your stumble, stay here until the end. Because what I am going to reveal to you today will change the way you view everything you have already lived. Let me ask you a direct question. Have you ever had that strange sensation that someone close to you was rooting against you? I am not talking about a declared enemy, no. I am talking about that person who smiles in front of you, asks how you are, but behind the scenes does everything so that you do not grow. That co-worker who always finds a way to diminish you in meetings. That relative who changes the subject when you talk about an achievement. That person who vanished from your life when you needed them most and reappeared when you were doing well, just to try to suck your energy again. If you recognized someone in this description, breathe deeply. Because what I'm going to tell you now is liberating. There is a pattern that repeats in the life of every chosen one. And when I speak of the chosen one, I'm not talking about someone perfect. I am talking about you, who despite all the falls, all the errors, all the nights in which you thought you would not endure, are still here, standing, breathing, seeking. This is already sufficient proof that there is something greater operating in your favor. And this greater something has a name: divine protection. But this protection acts in a way that most people have never understood. It does not take you out of the problems. It hides you inside the problems. And it is exactly this that I need to explain to you. Think with me. In Brazil, we grow up hearing that one needs to appear in order to win, that one needs to be seen, to be noticed, to be recognized. The Brazilian culture values visibility greatly. We want the position, the status, the photo on Instagram showing that everything is fine. And there is nothing wrong with wanting to grow. The problem is when we do not understand that there are phases in life in which invisibility is the greatest blessing you can receive. There are moments in which God hides you on purpose. He takes you off the radar of the wrong people. He makes it so that that boss who wanted to fire you simply forgets about you at the time of the cut. He makes it so that that group that was plotting against you disorganizes itself. He makes it so that the plan of the enemy becomes confused in the middle of the way. And you stay there, without understanding anything, thinking that you are being forgotten, when in truth, you are being protected. I know it is difficult to accept this when you are in the middle of the storm, when the bills are late, when the relationship is difficult, when health asks for attention and it seems that no one cares. You look to the side and see people who apparently make less effort than you prospering. And then comes that pain in the chest, that silent question that we ask in the early hours. Why me? Why do I do everything right and it seems that nothing works? If you have already caught yourself in this thought, comment here below the word protected, because I want you to mark this moment. This video arrived at the right time for you, and in a moment you will understand why. Now pay attention to what I am going to reveal to you, because this changes everything. Neuroscience has already proven that the human brain has a mechanism called negativity bias. This means that our mind naturally gives more weight to bad experiences than to good ones. It is because of this that you remember in detail the time someone humiliated you, but easily forget the days in which everything went well. Your brain was programmed by evolution to focus on danger. This was useful when we lived in the jungle and needed to flee from predators. But today this mechanism works against you. It makes you believe that you are always at risk, that everything will go wrong, that people are against you. And when you live in this state of constant alert, you lose the capacity to see the protection that is around you. It is as if you were inside a fortress, but stayed so focused on the cracks in the wall that you did not perceive that the walls are still standing. And do you know what is most impressive? The people who wanted to destroy you also do not perceive this fortress. They look at you and do not see the protection. They try to hit, they try to hurt, they try to bring down, but something always comes out different from what they planned. Have you noticed this? The plan they had against you always fails at the last minute. The gossip they spread did not stick. The trap they set caught someone else, and you stayed there intact, without even knowing what was happening behind the scenes. This has a spiritual name and a scientific name. Spiritually, this is called divine covering. Scientifically, there is a phenomenon that researchers call invisible resilience. Studies published in the area of positive psychology show that some people possess an almost inexplicable capacity to cross extreme situations without being destroyed. The researchers identified that these people are not necessarily stronger or more intelligent. They simply seem to be protected by something that goes beyond rational explanation. Coincidence? I do not believe it, and after this video, you will not believe it either. But here comes the part that few people have the courage to speak of, and it is why I need you to pay much attention now. The cloak of invisibility is not automatic. It does not stay over you by chance. There are conditions, there are attitudes that keep this protection active, and there are behaviors that tear this cloak and leave you exposed. And it is exactly this that I am going to teach you now. This is the most important part of everything I am going to say today. If you are watching until here, do not leave now, because what comes next is what separates those who live protected from those who live vulnerable. The first thing that tears the cloak of invisibility is unnecessary exposure. I know that we live in the era of social networks. Everyone wants to show what they have, what they do, where they go. But I need to tell you a truth that hurts. Not everything that is good in your life needs to be published. When you expose your achievements, your plans, and your dreams too much, you are literally taking the protection from off of you. It is not superstition, it is wisdom. In Brazil, we have a popular saying that says, "A pot that is uncovered too much does not cook properly." And this is profoundly true. Social psychology explains this phenomenon through what they call the spotlight effect. When you place yourself excessively in evidence, you attract not only admiration, but also envy, competition, and sabotage. And I am not talking about fat eye in the mystical sense. I am talking about a documented human behavior. When someone perceives that you are growing, the instinct of competition is activated. People who before were indifferent begin to observe you with attention, and those who already had something against you gain new ammunition to act. God knows this. And it is why in so many moments of your life He hid you. That period in which you felt invisible, in which it seemed that no one remembered you, in which opportunities seemed to pass far away. It may have been the greatest act of love you have ever received. Because while you were in anonymity, your enemies were losing interest. While you were in silence, God was preparing you. While you thought you were being abandoned, in truth, you were being shielded. If this is making sense to you, if you are feeling something in your chest now, leave a like on this video. It is not for vanity. It is so that this content reaches more people who need to hear exactly this today. Now let us go to the second point. The second thing that tears the cloak is revenge. When someone does you harm and you spend your energy trying to strike back, trying to prove you were right, trying to destroy who destroyed you, you step out from under the protection. And do you know why? Because revenge demands that you reveal yourself. It demands that you leave the hiding place, that you expose yourself, that you enter the arena of conflict. And at the moment you do this, the cloak falls. I know it is difficult. I know there are people who did terrible things to you, who lied, who betrayed, who stole your peace, and the natural will is to do justice with one's own hands. But listen to what I'm going to tell you now. Every time you tried to take revenge, the result was worse for you than for the other person. You can mentally replay your history. When you reacted with anger, with revenge, with the desire for retaliation, who came out more hurt? In most cases, it was you yourself. Because revenge takes you out of the place of protection and places you in the place of war. And war always has casualties on both sides. Neuroscience confirms this in a very interesting way. When you feed thoughts of revenge, your brain releases cortisol, the stress hormone. This hormone, when present in excess and for prolonged periods, compromises the immune system, impairs memory, increases blood pressure, and literally shortens your life. That is to say, while you are planning how to destroy who did you harm, Your own body is destroying itself. The enemy does not even need to do anything else. You are doing his work for him. But when you choose not to strike back, when you let go, when you leave it in the hands of God, something extraordinary happens. You return to under the cloak. The protection re-establishes itself. And then things begin to align in a way that you cannot explain. The person who did you harm begins to reap their own consequences without you needing to move a finger. The doors that were closed to you begin to open. And that peace that you thought you would never feel again returns in a way so profound that it makes you cry with gratitude. Now comes the third point, and this one is perhaps the most powerful of all. The third thing that keeps the cloak firm over you is strategic silence. There is a huge difference between being quiet and being strategic. A quiet person is one who is afraid to speak. A strategic person is one who knows the right time to speak and the right time to be silent. And in Brazil, we have a cultural difficulty with this. We are a communicative, expansive people who like to share. And this is beautiful. But there are times in which silence is the most powerful weapon you have. When you are in the middle of a process of growth, of healing, of reconstruction, silence protects you in three ways. First, it prevents envious people from knowing your plans and trying to sabotage them. Second, it avoids you spending emotional energy explaining your decisions to those who will not understand. And third, it allows God to work without interference, because many times we hinder the acting of God in our lives with our mouths. We complain too much, comment too much, opine too much. And each time we do this, we are pulling the cloak down. Think of Mary, the mother of Jesus. The Bible says that she kept all things in her heart. She received the greatest news in the history of humanity and did not go out spreading it to everyone. She kept it. She processed it. She protected that which was sacred with silence, and the result? The protection over her was so intense that even when Herod ordered the killing of all the boys, the family was warned in time and escaped. The cloak was over her because she understood the power of keeping what is precious. And now I want to ask you a question that perhaps will change your life. What have you been spreading out there that you should have been keeping? What plan, what dream, what decision did you share with people who did not deserve to know? And what happened after you told? If you are sincere with yourself, you will perceive that many of your frustrations began after you opened your mouth at the wrong time, to the wrong person. I want you to subscribe to this channel now, because this type of content that we bring here is not something you find in any place. Activate the bell so as not to miss any video. And if someone comes to your mind while watching this, send this video to that person. Sometimes God uses you as an instrument to bring protection to someone's life. And before advancing, I need to tell you something that happened with a woman from Goiânia who wrote to me last week. She was 42 years old, had worked in a company for almost a decade. Suddenly, a new manager arrived and began to persecute her. She invented errors, excluded her from meetings, made malicious comments in front of others. This woman told me she even thought about resigning, but something inside her said to stay quiet and wait. 3 months later, the manager was transferred. And not only that, the woman was promoted to the position the manager occupied, without asking. Without doing politics, without taking revenge, the cloak was over her the entire time, and who wanted to destroy her ended up opening the way for her growth. This is not an invented story. This is what happens when you remain under the covering. Now let us deepen even more. I want you to understand the spiritual mechanics behind the cloak of invisibility, because this will give you a security that nothing in this world can take away. When God decides to protect someone, He does not necessarily change the circumstances. He changes the perception of the enemies. This is too profound to pass quickly. Let me repeat. God does not need to take your enemies off the map. He simply takes you out of their field of vision. It is like when Elisha was surrounded by an entire army in the city of Dothan. His servant entered into despair. And what did Elisha ask of God? That he blind the enemies. And God did exactly that. They were looking directly at Elisha and could not see him. The entire army became confused, disoriented, lost, and Elisha passed in the middle of them as if he were invisible. This has happened in your life more times than you imagine. That meeting in which they decided who would be sent away and your name was not mentioned. That accident that you almost suffered, but for some inexplicable reason did not happen. That disease that the doctors said would be grave, but that regressed without explanation. That person who was determined to harm you, but out of nowhere changed their mind or simply disappeared from your life. All of this was the cloak in operation. All of this was God blinding the eyes of who wanted to destroy you. And there is one more thing I need to reveal to you. The cloak of invisibility does not protect only you. It protects your house, your family, your children, your work, everything that is under your spiritual covering. When you live in an aligned way, when you keep your faith active, when you practice strategic silence and reject revenge, this protection extends like a force field around everything that is yours, and the enemies cannot penetrate. I know that perhaps you are passing through a difficult moment now. Perhaps you are facing a situation that seems to have no exit. Perhaps someone is actively trying to bring you down at work, in the relationship, in the family. I want you to know something. The fact that you are watching this video at this exact moment is not by chance. Nothing in God is by chance. You are guided here because you need to hear this. You are protected. The cloak is over you, and what the enemy planned against you will not prosper. But I need to be honest with you. This protection demands maintenance. Just as a house needs maintenance to continue standing, the spiritual cloak needs to be maintained. And there are daily practices that strengthen this covering. The first is gratitude. When you give thanks even in the middle of difficulty, you are declaring that you trust in the protection even without seeing the results. And this declaration of faith strengthens the cloak in a way that I cannot describe with words. Studies from the University of California show that people who practice gratitude daily present higher levels of well-being, better quality of sleep, and greater emotional resilience. That is to say, gratitude is not just a beautiful spiritual concept. It is a proven tool of mental and emotional protection. When you give thanks, your brain releases dopamine and serotonin, the neurotransmitters of well-being. And when your brain is in this state, it makes better decisions, perceives opportunities with more clarity, and resists adversities better. The second practice is forgiveness. And I know that this word can generate discomfort. In Brazil, we grow up hearing that we have to forgive, but no one teaches how. To forgive is not to pretend it did not hurt. It is not to say that everything is fine when it is not. To forgive is a conscious decision to let go of the weight that the other person placed on your back. It is to return the burden to whom it rightfully belongs and move forward lighter. When you forgive, the cloak restores itself completely. Because resentment is like an acid that corrodes spiritual protection. Each time you relive the hurt, each time you repeat mentally what they did to you, each time you feed the rancor, you are creating holes in your cloak. And through these holes the enemy can reach you. The third practice, and this is the one that will most surprise you, is the care for your body. Yes, the physical body. Spirituality does not exist separate from the body. When you sleep poorly, eat poorly, do not move, do not care for your health, your vital energy diminishes, and with it your spiritual protection also weakens. In Brazil, more than half of the adult population is overweight. The rates of insomnia, anxiety, and depression among people above 35 years old are among the highest in the world. And it is not a coincidence that this same age group is the one that most reports feeling unprotected, vulnerable, and spiritually attacked. The body is the temple, and when the temple is weakened, the cloak has nowhere to rest. Caring for the body is not vanity. It is a spiritual act of maintenance of your protection. When you eat well, when you walk, when you sleep enough, when you seek a doctor when you need, you are strengthening the base upon which the cloak sustains itself. Now I am going to tell you something that will close everything we spoke of, until here with a golden key. There exists a moment in the life of every chosen one in which the cloak is tested. It is a moment of extreme pressure, where it seems that everything will collapse. It is in this moment that most people enter into despair, make precipitated decisions, step out from under the protection on their own, and expose themselves to danger. But the chosen one who understands what I taught you today acts in a different way. He recognizes the test. He maintains himself in silence when everything screams for him to react. He practices gratitude when everything around seems a reason to complain. He chooses forgiveness when revenge would be easier. And he cares for the body and the mind, even when the soul is tired. And do you know what happens after this test? The cloak becomes permanent. The protection ceases to be temporary and becomes a mark in your life. The enemies not only cease to see you, they begin to fear your presence without knowing how to explain why. Opportunities begin to appear from places you never imagined. Doors open without you knocking. The right people arise in your path as if they had been sent. And that peace that the entire world seeks and does not find installs itself in the center of your chest, in a way so profound that no external storm can reach. I'm going to ask you one thing now. Close your eyes for an instant, just a second, and think of everything you have already passed through, of the difficult nights, of the betrayals, of the diseases, of the financial losses, of the relationships that ended, of the friends who revealed themselves as enemies. Now open your eyes and recognize you survived all of that. Each one of those situations had the potential to destroy you, but it did not destroy. And it was not because you are too strong. It was because someone greater was fighting for you behind the scenes. The cloak of invisibility was over you this whole time, even when you did not know, even when you doubted, even when you cried thinking you were alone. You were never alone. Never. And now that you know this, now that your eyes were open to this truth, I ask you, do not step out from under the cloak. Keep your plans. Let go of your hurts. Care for your body. Practice gratitude and trust in the process, even when you do not understand. If this video touched your heart, comment here below the phrase, "I am protected." I want to read each comment. I want to know how many people were reached by this message today. Send this video to someone who is passing through a difficult moment, to someone who needs to remember that they are not alone. Sometimes a simple sharing can be the instrument that God uses to save a life. Subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and stay tuned for the next videos, because what I have to reveal to you in the coming weeks will deepen even more everything we conversed about here today. You were chosen. You are protected. The cloak is over you, and no weapon forged against you shall prosper. Now go. Go with this certainty in your chest. Go with this peace that does not come from the world. Go knowing that the God who hid you until here will not abandon you precisely now. The best of your life is yet to come, and when it arrives, you will look back and you will understand each dark night, each closed door, each no that you received. Everything was part of the plan. Everything was the cloak protecting you. Everything was God hiding you from the eyes of who wanted to destroy you. We will see each other in the next video. The content I am preparing will show you how to identify exactly in which phase of the process of protection you find yourself now and what to do to accelerate the turnaround that is to come. Do not miss it. Stay with God.